the skies opened up with a torrential downpour, drenching the coastline and surrounding the large, isolated property with the steady rhythm of rain. Jade, a mother of two, stood at the window, watching the lightning dance across the ocean. Her husband was away with the Navy, not expected back for another month, and the weight of his absence pressed heavily on her shoulders. Paige and Lucas, her children, were fast asleep in their rooms upstairs, blissfully unaware of the storm outside. The house, nestled near the beach, was far from any neighbors, making Jade feel both the comfort and burden of isolation. But amidst the thunder and rain, Jade heard a sound that made her blood run cold, a creak. She froze, straining to hear it again, telling herself it was just her imagination. But then she heard it again, clearer this time, coming from the front of the house, heart pounding. Jade crept towards the source, her mind racing with possibilities. The front door was ajar, swinging slightly with the gusts of wind. Panic surged through her. Had she forgotten to lock it? Or worse, had someone forced their way in? The thought of home invaders lurking in the shadows of her home sent a wave of fear crashing over her. She had to protect her children, but how? She could feel her heart thudding in her chest as she silently moved through the house, checking every corner and listening intently. Jade grabbed her phone and dialed emergency services, whispering to the operator about the open door and her fears of an intruder. She was advised to stay on the line and keep herself and her children safe. Gathering her courage, Jade made her way upstairs, moving as silently as possible. She found Paige and Lucas still sound asleep. She gently woke them, whispering that they needed to be very quiet and follow her. The fear in her eyes must have been evident, as they quickly obeyed without question. She led them to a small storage closet in the hallway, tucking them inside and instructing them to stay hidden and silent. Jade closed the door, her heart breaking at the sight of their frightened faces. She knew she had to be brave for them. Taking a deep breath, Jade crept back downstairs, her senses heightened. She armed herself with a heavy flashlight, gripping it tightly as she moved through the house. The rain outside grew heavier, the thunder louder, masking any potential sounds of an intruder. Minutes felt like hours as she checked each room. The kitchen, the living room, the dining room, each one empty. But her fear did not abate. She kept her phone in her hand, ready to give the operator any update. Then she heard it again. A muffled sound from the basement. Her heart nearly stopped. Steeling herself, Jade approached the basement door, flashlight held high. She took a deep breath and opened the door, the creak of the hinges echoing through the house. She descended the stairs slowly. In the basement, she found nothing out of place. The sound, it seemed, had been nothing more than the old house settling in the storm. Relief and exhaustion washed over her. But she knew she couldn't let her guard down. She quickly checked the locks on the basement windows and then hurried back upstairs to her children. As she reached the top of the stairs, she was grabbed from behind. A strong hand clamped over her mouth. Her heart raced as she was dragged into the living room, where two masked men stood, their eyes glinting with malice. "Where's the money? Where's the jewelry?" they demanded. One of them demanded. Jade's mind raced, fear and desperation making it hard to think. She stammered, trying to buy time. But they weren't patient. They tied her to a chair, the ropes digging into her skin, and continued their interrogation. The minutes dragged on, each one an eternity. Jade's thoughts kept returning to her children, hidden upstairs. She prayed they would stay silent, stay safe. The intruders ransacked the house, their frustration growing with every minute they couldn't find what they were looking for. Just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse, Jade saw a distant flashing of red and blue lights through the window. The thieves noticed it too, their panic evident. They cursed, abandoning their search, and fled out the back door in a desperate bid to escape. The police burst in moments later, weapons drawn. They found Jade and quickly untied her, her relief overwhelming her. She was reunited with Paige and Lucas, who had stayed hidden and safe. An hour later, with the help of a helicopter and dogs, the police tracked down the intruders. They were part of a string of robberies on other houses nearby, many of them empty holiday homes. Jade's ordeal was over, but the emotional scars would remain. As the first light of dawn began to break, the storm subsided. Jade stood at the window once more, watching the sun rise over the ocean. Her children were safe. That was all that ever mattered. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 56, verse 3.